All right, everybody. I'm Tim Banks, I'm a consultant here at Mission, and I'm here with Lance Allen. Lance is one of our solutions architects. Say hi, everybody, Lance.
Hello, everyone. How's it going? So we're going to talk to you guys about the container presentations at reInvent and some of the things that we found interesting and, things that we're super excited to tell you guys about. Tim, why don't you take us away?
Yeah. So what we saw in this video, again, we're talking about that theme that Andy brought up in the very beginning about reinvention, about doing things a new way, and not just reinventing services, but companies and businesses reinventing themselves. And they talked about moving away from, what was legacy data center stuff, or even when AWS first started, they tell a story about how, hey, I swipe my credit card and I can get instances and then I can deploy Linux on them and all these other things like that. But traditionally, what you would do in a data center, right, except with instances instead of servers. But talking about moving away from that, that's still, we consider that now. It's makes me feel old to say, but that's legacy now, right? Nobody does that. We don't do that anymore. Now we provision things automatically, and we move towards something that looks a little bit more modern. Splitting up services and deploying them across containers. Um, and so I thought it was interesting when he talks about moving away from those EC2 instances. One of the things that I thought was cool is they talked about specifically some of the various manners of compute and who's going to manage that aspect of it. Do we run it on regular EC2 instances like before? Do we let AWS manage the auto scaling using something like Fargate? What's the architecture we run it on? Are we going to run it on x86 kind of stuff? We're going to run some of these ARM ones, the new Graviton 2 processors coming out. We got some options there that I think are kind of cool for some of the customers. So Lance, what do you think about some of the things you talked about moving things off of the legacy systems and into like a more modern architecture?
I think it makes a lot of sense, right? So with a lot of the, organizations that we've been seeing lately, containerization and modernization is a huge theme, right? So companies really want to be able to take advantage of what the cloud offers, right? Being able to operate at scale and, work, efficiencies into your development cycles that make it so that you're paying less for the services that you're consuming, right? And the container model really helps that, right? And so a lot of this work comes down to decomposing, decoupling, refactoring, replatforming. So there's a lot of kind of work that goes into this, right? And it eventually comes down to writing code and architecting, reliable, resilient infrastructure, to back that code, right? And so, these are all things that we kind of talk about with customers regularly, and things that we, at Mission want to, work through with our customers. So I'm definitely excited to hear these things being presented and talked about at reInvent, because that is kind of where we're trying to go at Mission as well.
Yeah, it brings up a customer of ours that we had in the past that I just thought about. We had security company that does like cameras and things like that, where they were running everything in just one big legacy application, just one gigantic system that ran everything from start to finish, was checkouts all the way through to video streaming and stuff like that, right? And we sat down with them earlier in the year and we said, there's a better way to do this. And we talked about leveraging EKS and ECS, but just moving on to containers and chipping away at this legacy system, whether it was an old CMS that where everything ran in there, including like Memcached and Drupal, or I think it was whatever it was, and chipping some of these things away and putting some into, moving some into managed services for databases, moving stuff into managed services for caching, and then putting everything else into containers. And so we helped them cycle through that. And they did that work over the course of several months. And it came down to when it was Black Friday, they were ready to go. They had everything containerized. They had stuff split off into managed services, such that all the pieces of their application still existed, but now they existed in things that were individually scalable, cost optimized, and performance optimized, and resilient, most of all, that you could lose a container and just reschedule it somewhere else and pop and never know, right? So it was really cool to see that work get done, and I was super excited to help them be able to do that. And not just me, but several other folks here at Mission. This is what we do. We're gonna talk to them about the architecture. We help them, with hands-on sometimes. We bring in the right folks and the right experts, not only at Mission, but also at AWS, to get them on the right track and set them up for success like this. Um, we have another customer of ours that is in the gaming and advertising industry that they're able to leverage containers and spot instances, and they're saving like 90% off of what they would do for on demand, um, to meet the spikes and to meet just a really kind of hard to predict demand for their services, right? But because they're architecturally optimized for containers, they have a stateless workload, and they keep state off of it, off of the container, and manage services in other places, so that if a spot instance goes away, the containers get scheduled somewhere else, and they pick right up where they left long. I thought it's a brilliant way to do it, and if you optimize for that kind of workload, you can save a ton of money and have a lot fewer worries. So, yeah, what were some of the other things that you saw that excited you there, Lance?
So I was pretty stoked to see the public repositories, right? So I'm a big Docker container nerd, and I do a lot of, kind of app web service development in my off time. And I use a lot of public container images from Docker Hub or Quay, or, wherever open source projects or teams have their images stored, right? And so given that that's something that I use often, I know a lot of people use often, right? How many organizations have you come across, Tim, where some part of the stack is using a public Docker image, like a Redis cache, like, some simple, common, off-the-shelf things. So excited to see Amazon open that up and give developers and open source projects and teams the ability to provide public container images that anybody can go download without needing some credentials. So I was super stoked to see that one, as well as ECS Anywhere. Right, I like the idea of being able to run hybrid architectures, that are container based. You get the power of ECS or EKS behind it. You can reuse a lot of your existing tooling, but you can deploy it anywhere. Right. So
Yeah,
those were the ones I was most excited to see.
yeah. So that goes along with the theme we saw again from the kickoff keynote about having the ability to go on a hybrid infrastructure where you have some stuff in a public cloud, you have some stuff on Metal, but you don't have to have different tooling, you don't have to have different monitoring. You have a single unified control plane that can span all of that. So having that, with whether you're running AWS Outposts or whether you're running ECS or EKS Anywhere, I think that's going to be a game changer for some. But speaking of opening things up, the thing that I saw that I was super excited about is the EKS distro, the open sourcing of the EKS control plane, so that folks can run that anywhere, just EKS Anywhere. There's a lot of potential for that, for open source, people to contribute to it, for people to be able to utilize it in a various ways, whether they're going to utilize it on public cloud, whether they can use it on prem, whether they're going to just use it in development stuff across laptops or Raspberry Pis or whatever. It's got a lot of potential. I'm super excited to see what folks do with that. I know the AWS container team has been plugging away at EKS ever since it first came out. They've got the open issues in GitHub, super responsive to the community. So I'm excited to see what they do with this. A couple of the things they talked about were with the integration of services using things like AppMesh, using some of the cloud orchestration tools, so that you can get everything to work together. What do you think about Proton?
Sounds awesome, right? So one of the things that we've come across a lot of times working with ECS and EKS is that they're pretty advanced systems, and they enable teams to write a lot of their own custom integrations. But sometimes it's too many options, or sometimes it's too much work to go through the process of integrating. And so I really like that not only is AWS coming out with these powerful tools that teams can use to build their own complex custom integrations, but they're offering more of kind of a simple, straightforward path where you just show up with some app code and this orchestration service will take care of it. Do the processes, building the container images, shipping those, releasing those, and kind of streamlining the process for teams that don't want to make that time investment. So I was really excited to see that.
Yeah, I think too, one other thing I wanted to bring up from a previous keynote was when they talked about being able to deploy Lambda services, like, or use your container development kits for Lambda functions, right? So now you can treat a Lambda like a container in your tooling and in automation. That opens up a lot of possibilities too, because then you don't have to go through, you don't have to have a different control plane or different tool or different management interface for deploying Lambdas. The fewer, the fewer changes you have to make in order to be able to utilize some of these technologies, I think the better. So yeah, AWS is really, they're really pushing forward as a leader in containers. And I'm super excited to see it. They've really lit the fires under it, and it's great to see, having watched how that's progressed over the past few years. It's pretty awesome. Anything else you got on your mind there, Lance?
That's it for me.
Yeah, I think that's it for us too. I want to thanks everyone for watching. We have some other videos from reInvent that you can please feel free to check out at missioncloud.com/blog. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks for watching.